While Johan and Peewit catch their breath, danger is already one step ahead. Matthus has a plan, and the real trouble is about to begin. This is Chapter 4. Suddenly, there's a commotion as the creature companion warns to watch out. The creature in the helmet seems to react to light from door opening. Peewit enters holding a candle, expressing his favor for Matthus, while Johan remains skeptical about Matthus' reliability. Peewit suggests playing chess before sleeping, but Johan declines, accusing Peewit of always cheating and saying he's too tired. Johan shuts the door with a smile, leaving Peewit holding the candle. Feeling indignant, Peewit mutters to himself about the cheating accusation, defending his actions by saying Johan would always win otherwise. He walks away, still holding the candle. When Peewit reaching for his flute, he notices a helmet out of place and wonders who moved it. Suddenly, a knock on the door interrupts Peewit, and he calls out for the visitor to come in, still holding his flute. Peewit welcomes Matthus, who peeks through the door, asking if Peewit is alone, to which Peewit cheerfully confirms and invites him inside. Matthus, noticing the flute in Peewit's hand, comments on its fame, while Peewit proudly confirms its identity. Peewit confidently tells Matthus that when he plays, Matthus will dance, inviting him to see it in action. As Peewit plays his flute, Matthus begins to dance uncontrollably, pleading for Peewit to stop as the room turns chaotic. Peewit laughs heartily, asking if Matthus is convinced now, while Matthus, panting and in disbelief, admits it's unbelievable. Matthus eagerly asks Peewit for a chance to play, hoping to see if Peewit will dance too, but Peewit hesitates, not wanting to hand it over. Feeling misunderstood, Matthus becomes emotional, believing Peewit doesn't trust him, and laments the loss of a potential friendship. Peewit, feeling guilty, tries to comfort Matthus, offering him the instrument with a condition that Matthus promises to stop if Peewit shouts, "Enough." The next morning, Johan listens as a guard explains that he saw someone leaving in a hurry while on watch at the drawbridge. Johan, puzzled by the news, suspects that Peewit might have been warned and decides to ask him about it. Johan approaches a door, thinking to himself that Peewit is probably still asleep and snoring. Opening the door, Johan is shocked to find Peewit tied up and mumbling through a gag. Lady Barbara is startled by loud accusations of villainy and theft echoing from within Peewit room. She clutches her chest, exclaiming at the harsh language being used. Peewit charges out the rooms and forward wielding an axe, yelling more insults, while Lady Barbara cries out for help. Johan following Peewit out of the room and calling for Peewit to stop his reckless behavior. Peewit, still holding the axe, crawls under a table, threatening to catch Matthus. His determination to find Matthus and promises to make mincemeat out of them. Peewit emerges from under the table, swinging his axe dramatically as he declares his intention to make Matthus dance, startling a nearby couple. With fierce determination, Peewit continues his energetic pursuit, gripping the axe and yelling on thick rope, his eyes wide open with anger. Peewit threatens a fleeing old man, promising to make him bleed like a rabbit, while the old man protests his innocence. As Peewit furiously charges down the staircase, axe in hand, a bewildered king emerges from a doorway, questioning the commotion. Peewit threatens to slice Matthus like a sausage, oblivious to the king's presence. In his haste, Peewit crashes into the king, sending both of them tumbling to the ground. Recovering from the collision, Peewit seizes the opportunity to demand justice from the king, claiming his flute has been stolen. The king looks on, still dazed, as Peewit insists on immediate action. The king seems relieved as he tells Peewit that it's finally getting quiet, while Peewit looks surprised by this statement. Peewit urgently insists that the thief must be arrested, while the king, still looking a bit disoriented and ignoring Peewit. Johan arrives and asks what is going on. Peewit angrily explains to Johan and the king that Matthus Peppersack tricked him into letting Matthus play the flute, only to steal it. He recounts how he fainted after yelling "enough" and woke up to find both Matthus and the flute gone. Peewit, Johan, and the king discuss the situation, with Johan reassuring Peewit that they can catch Matthus. The king seems pretend to understand why Matthus need to be captured. Johan explains to the king the dangerous potential of the flute, emphasizing how Matthus could exploit its power. The king listens intently, realizing the urgency of retrieving the magical instrument. Peewit, feeling the pressure of the situation, insists they must pursue Matthus immediately. Johan agree, following Peewit as he leads the charge out of the castle. As they rush through the castle, Johan expresses concern about finding Matthus without knowing which direction he went, but Peewit remains optimistic, suggesting they'll search the entire country if necessary. They continue their hurried exit, passing Lady Barbara, who encourages them to take their chances, while Johan reminds Peewit to saddle the horse as it's their only option. A few moments later, Johan and Peewit are riding through a forest, with Peewit with sarcasm joke suggesting that if Matthus likes music, he will compose a requiem for him. For 3 weeks, Johan and Peewit travel tirelessly across the countryside, engaging with everyone they encounter to gather information. Their journey is long and filled with determination as they seek answers to their quest. They visit grand halls and speak with influential figures, hoping to glean significant insights. Johan confidently presents their case, while Peewit observes with interest, ready to add his own charm to the conversation. Continuing their journey, they reach the fields where they converse with humble farmers about their concerns. Johan gestures passionately as Peewit listens attentively, ensuring no stone is left unturned in their quest for the truth. Peewit enthusiastically describes their quest to the villagers, who listen with a mix of curiosity and skepticism. Despite his detailed account, the villagers seem unsure of how to assist them further. Peewit, undeterred, using wood branch to explain using mime movement of Matthus. Continuing mimicking Matthus by showing how Matthus walks. And Peewit mimicking person who blowing flute to play melody. Then Peewit mimicking uncontrollably dancing and jumping. Peewit and Johan are now in a bustling village, asking around about Matthus Peppersack, but they find no leads. Despite their efforts, the villagers all respond with the same answer, leaving them at a loss. As Peewit and Johan ride their horses through the countryside, their spirits are visibly low after failing to find any leads in the village. The weight of their fruitless search hangs heavily over them, casting shadows on their journey. Suddenly, a young villager approaches them with a burst of energy, gesturing excitedly as if he has vital information. Peewit and Johan's faces light up with hope as they eagerly listen to what the boy has to say. Johan, filled with newfound determination, takes a decisive step forward, urging Peewit to follow quickly. The young villager points them in the right direction, and with a renewed sense of purpose, they set off to meet Matthus Peppersack. When Johan and Peewit peek around the corner of a house, they disappoint that instead finding Matthus, they found a villager kid perched on a haystack, plays his flute with enthusiasm. A month later, Johan and Peewit ride through a peaceful countryside, expressing their frustration over not finding Matthus Peppersack. However, Peewit spots an inn, lifting their spirits with the hope of some new information. Inside the inn, Johan speculates that Matthus Peppersack might be far from the country, possibly hundreds of miles away. Peewit agrees, acknowledging the difficulty of their search. Johan suggests they might as well give up and return to the castle, questioning Peewit's opinion on the matter. Peewit agrees, acknowledging the chase as nonsense. Peewit, feeling overlooked, starts tapping the table and loudly calls for attention, pointing out the lack of service in the inn. Johan seems to agree, noticing they're not being attended to. Peewit stands up, shouting that he's hungry and demanding the innkeeper's presence. Johan watches him, sharing in the frustration and hunger. Peewit, still frustrated, muses aloud about the unlocked door, insisting someone must be around. He looks determined to find out who is responsible for the empty stall. Suddenly, Peewit calls out to Johan, urging him to come quickly as he makes a surprising discovery. Johan, responding to the urgency in Peewit's voice, rushes towards him with a sense of curiosity and concern. Johan arrives to find Peewit near a tied-up man surrounded by barrels and sacks, looking shocked at the sight. He starts to ask what happened. The tied-up man, looking relieved, explains to Johan and Peewit that he's had a traveler staying with him for a month, who often went on mysterious explorations. Continuing his story, the man recounts how the traveler suddenly declared he could finally begin something and that the man would be his first customer. The traveler then played a flute, causing the man to uncontrollably dance. Johan, shocked, asks if the traveler was a short, dark, chubby man with a beard, to which the tied-up man confirms and reveals his name as Matthus Peppersack. Peewit listens intently, he is so happy until can't say anything. Meanwhile, in the bustling town of Katniss, Matthus in a cart stops in front of a busy street, drawing the attention of the townsfolk. Matthus calls out to his horse to halt. The man in the cart, Matthus Peppersack, checks a list while contemplating his next move, deciding to visit the bailiff first among several important errands. He mutters to himself about needing to see the usurer and the goldsmith, emphasizing the bailiff's priority. Determined, Matthus steps up to a large wooden door and knocks persistently, hoping to catch the attention of the bailiff inside. The bailiff's voice comes from behind the door, asking Matthus about his purpose. Suddenly, the bailiff informs Matthus that he is not present, but Matthus cleverly mentions he brought 100 ducats, hoping to change the situation. With the mention of the ducats, the door swings open, and a man invites Matthus inside, suggesting that the bailiff interests in conversation because of ducats. A loud banging sound echoes as the door swings close. Finally, Matthus Peppersack steps out confidently, carrying a small chest and a bag of coins, determined to visit the loan shark. Now Matthus knocking on the loan shark door. Suddenly, loud noises and cries for help echo from a closed door, suggesting a struggle inside. Matthus emerges from the door, carrying several large bags, looking both relieved and determined. He mentions the goldsmith is his next target. Approaching the goldsmith's shop, Matthus is asked if he's looking for a single jewel. With a sly grin, he boldly declares his intention to take all the jewels, showing his audacious intent. Matthus emerges from the goldsmith's shop, clutching a chest full of jewels and laughing triumphantly about a small flute he admires. Nearby, a group, including Johan and Peewit, is informed by a passerby that Matthus entered the goldsmith's shop at the corner. As Matthus hears the sound of approaching hoofbeats, he decides it might be wise to keep the flute close, just in case. Suddenly, Johan and Peewit appear, demanding Matthus return the flute immediately, catching him by surprise. Matthus stands frozen with the flute in hand, realizing he's been caught as Johan rides up on his horse. Matthus to blow into the flute, suddenly Johan and Peewit move uncontrolled following the melody from the flute. They with their ride are dancing and jumping. Johan leaps from his horse, angrily confronting Matthus who continues to play the flute, causing Peewit to tumble head over heels. Johan's words are stern, warning Matthus that his actions will have consequences as the horse looks on in confusion. Peewit lands with a dizzy head, vowing revenge as he struggles to regain his balance. Johan rushes over to Peewit, concerned about his friend's fall, as Peewit tries to shake off his dizziness. As Johan attempts to help Peewit, he too loses his balance, and they both fall down and lost their conscience. Matthus Peppersack watches them with a mix of exasperation and amusement, deciding he can't leave them behind. He mutters to himself the chaos they cause and resolves to take them with him to prevent further mishaps. And with that, the plot thickens and the adventure grows even more mysterious. What twists await in the next chapter? You'll find out soon. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. A new chapter arrives every day. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.